Hey guys, Miss Arden here to help you with day 25. Happy Friday. This is our first week finishing off the pandemic journal for this week. You'll continue it next week, but with a new article that you're looking at, new article chunks. So of course it's always in your packet, but like always, we've got the Google form in your social studies classroom, which you can fill out. And remember that automatically submits it to your social studies teacher. And then it will send you an email with your responses that you will then forward to your English teacher. And then you've got this assignment turned in for English and social studies. So, like always, it starts off with a couple of personal questions, or kind of questions that deal with you, not about any article, for your journal. So the first question is kind of a big one. Do you see any examples of racism, injustice, or inequality in any of the events that have happened today, like in the world today? Okay. Locally, at the state level, nationally, or the world. So remember, racism means treating people unfairly or rudely or anything like that based on their race, the color of their skin, right? Injustice and inequality kind of mean not treating people fairly, right? Not giving people the same rights or the same abilities or the same treatment, okay? So have you seen any examples of people being not treated the same or equally or fairly in the world? Okay, maybe you've seen that here locally in Springdale or in your neighborhood. Maybe you've seen it in Arkansas. Maybe you've seen it anywhere in the US or in the world. Okay, give me an example of anything dealing with COVID-19, right? Any time that maybe a group, and it doesn't just have to be a racial group or a class group. It can be anything, right? It can be maybe certain people are being struck or stricken harder by this disease than others, or not being treated the same in hospitals, anything like that. Okay. And then on a lighter note, but a similar question, alternatively or opposite, right? Do you see any examples of equality, fairness, or respect? So have you seen people being like going out of their way or being very fair to each other, treating people with equality means treating them fairly and respecting them and treating them as equals, okay? Have you seen kind of good things happen in the world, locally, state level, nationally, or the world again, right? So it can be something that you've seen here in Springdale, in Arkansas, in the United States, or even over in China or over in England, right? Anywhere at all. Have you seen something, some example of fairness or something like that? Okay. And for today, we're using the very last chunk of this article that you've been reading a different chunk every day, Article 1, Chunk 6. So I'm going to read it aloud for you. All parties feared the spread of the plague. At that time, there were not enough priests in churches for masses, services, prayers for dying, or funerals. The plague moved through Dorset Seaport onto Devon, Somerset, and up to Bristol. So the people of Gloucester stopped people escaping from Bristol. They feared the breath of those who had lived among the dying would spread the sickness. But in the end, Gloucester and then Oxford and London too, and finally the whole of England were so violently attacked that almost 90% of both men and women died. 90%. Cases in the courts of the king came to a stop, for all parties feared the spread of the plague. When the churchyards were not large enough to bury the dead, fields were used for the burials of the dead. Hardly anyone dared to have anything to do with the sick. They fled from the things left by the dead, which had once been precious but were now poisonous to your health. People who one day had been full of happiness on the next were found dead. Victims had little black boils scattered over their whole body. Of these people, very few, indeed hardly any, recovered life and health. The plague, which began in Bristol on the feast of the Assumption of the Virgin, the 15th of August, and in London around Michaelmas, the 29th of September, raged for more than a year in England and completely emptied many villages. In the following year, it laid waste to the Welsh in England, English in Wales, and then it moved to Ireland, where the English residents were cut down in great numbers. But the native Irish living in the mountains and uplands were scarcely touched until 1357, when it took them unawares and killed them too. So this is a big quote dealing with how it's spreading and how it's taking out society by society by society. Kind of as it gets to each area, it kind of attacks everyone, right? No matter of who they are, what they do for a living. So the questions that go here: did the Black Death spread to other countries faster or slower than COVID-19? Okay, so do you think the Black Death spread quicker, or do you think this coronavirus spread quicker? Okay, that's your opinion, but use a little bit of textual evidence to help you out if you need it. Which one do you think spread faster, or kind of attacked more people quicker? The second question: explain some of the different ways that coronavirus has affected the behaviors of people. So this one is kind of your opinion, right? How have you seen people change their behaviors or change what they're doing because of this coronavirus, because of COVID-19? Okay. And then finally, the last two questions are the same as always. What's a new similarity that you see between the two, right? A similarity from this passage where something here sounds familiar to what we're going through with COVID-19, with coronavirus, as well as something that is different. What's something here that we see about COVID-19? I'm sorry, about the Black Plague that we don't see with COVID-19 with the coronavirus. Okay, so give me something that they have the same and something that they have that's different from this new article. And then once you submit this, make sure you check your email and forward that email to your English teacher. And then you are done with this article for this week. And we'll continue our journal entries dealing with COVID-19 in this pandemic next week. Happy Friday, guys.